Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yoga Vasishtha Utpatti Prakarana, section 97, and the same old problem. Oldest of all problems. It is the mind that exists as a human being, a god, a demon, or any other living being. Just figure that out. Put the mind away from your pocket. Then what happens? There's nothing. Even the word nothing, you can't bring it without the mind in it. Simple experience everyone has, not absolute, but little. When you go to deep sleep, you put the mind away with your ego, with your intellect, with all other functions, all away. And then what happens to the world? Where are human beings? Where are puppies and kitten, monkeys and bears? Where are demons? Where is the vast history? Where is this majestic world of astronomy? What all has happened to us? All that begins to operate when you have a mind. In modern times, it is easy to understand. All the progress you enjoy is possible when you have the iPhone. Suddenly, you threw your iPhone in the garbage. Now, the whole world has finished. You are completely in dark. It's like the iPhone and how it is important. And how mysteriously so much comes through a little iPhone. If you can grasp that, you must realize mind and nervous system, that's million times greater than that iPhone. It is that which is holding the world experience. So it is the mind that exists in the form of laws of conduct, virtue and vice, villages, cities, forests, vastness of space, and all that it contains. This being so, it is into the nature of mind that one must inquire. There is no need to inquire about the body or any other object, which are but straws in the surging ocean of the mind. It's an allegorical way of saying, if you have to inquire about all this big world and want to know all the mysteries, why go after all that? Look at your iPad. Not the small one, big eye. And this iPad is based upon your mind. So what is that mind? Use your mind to unmind yourself. And remind yourself you are not. The entire world exists within the mind. When the mind is negated, the self is realized. It is the light of the self that continues to sustain all the functions of the mind. Here you have to understand two aspects. The reality is like the screen. That's pure, that's called chit. When the screen becomes mixed with projections, then it's called chitta. And now what happens? What you are experiencing, you are already a product of the chitta. The way you feel, who you are. Your ego is a product of your chitta. So you are already in the realm of projections. And in the realm of projections, all you experience is not reality. All cinema show, no matter how wonderful, it's not reality. The screen alone is. In old time, allegorical way of explaining, snake on the rope. The screen is a rope. All the show you see is a snake swirling around. And with enlightenment, what happens? You realize rope alone is. The snake is just an illusory creation. Same Brahman, through illusion, appears as the world process. Same rope appears as a snake with so many strange characteristics. By repeated inquiry into the nature of the self, the mind begins to dissolve. The dissolution of the mind leads to the increasing blessedness of the soul. Here we are being given very quick resolution that if you were to inquire into who am I, you will not carry your iPhone, the big ego phone I'm talking about. This ego phone, the ego set, will dissolve. And as it dissolves, you begin to discover increasing blessedness of the soul. Just to give you a simple way to understand now from practical point of view. Dissolving the mind is not in a simple process. In order to go into the project of allowing the mind to move away, as it were, or dissolve, 3 points have to be taken into consideration. Mala, Vikshepa and Avarana. Mala is gross impurity. Anger, hate, greed, etc. Vikshepa is subtle desires, or subtle impressions that operate through your subconscious. And avarana is the cause behind all those subtle desires, ignorance. When you adopt a process, mala is destroyed by karma yoga, allowing your action to be meaningful, not just led by your ego, but action led by a good understanding of what's the purpose of life. What are you expecting by your self-effort? And so forth. So it's all detail I'm not going into at this stage. Vikshepa, that's a profounder change occurring in your personality. If your material situation has been improved and all things look wonderful, but if your vasanas remain just the same, uneducated, kiddish, you are not really enjoying life. You don't enjoy life on the basis of how wonderful high-story building you sit upon, or what wonderful car you drive, or how many bangles you are bagging up with your arms. Real life is totally different. So, changing the vasanas, that requires bhakti and dhyana, devotional japa, and of course, along with it, righteous conduct. Bhakti, devotional movement, allowed to enjoy higher sentiments. Don't stay with petty sentiments. Learn the art of enjoying compassion instead of enjoying cruelty. Both are enjoyments, if you you are too tamasic, you enjoy seeing people whom you hate being destroyed, crushed. But that type of enjoyment your heart should not have. Then you realize how wonderful is your setting. Your whole personality becomes a devalaya, a temple. And finally, ignorance that keeps your understanding restricted. Understanding stays intellectual without any intuitive depth in it. That is finally removed by Jnana Yoga, by all that we call Vedanta, all the teachings. So, when these three are accomplished, removal of mala, gross impurities, vikshepa, the distractions, avarana, the veil, mala, viksha, avarana is ignorance, avidya, agyan. When these three are removed, then chitta is no longer there. What is there? You no longer you are having the show of projections. Only the screen, the reality shines on. Chitta turns into chit. Chit is pure consciousness. Chitta is mind stuff. By repeated inquiry into the nature of the self, the mind begins to dissolve. The dissolution of the mind leads to the increasing blessedness of the soul. That means progress in your integral yoga, increasing chitta shuddhi, purity of heart, increasing ascent on the ladder of wisdom, and so forth. When the illusory karmas created by the mind are destroyed, the jiva is said to have attained liberation. Any karmic improvement you have brought within yourself, it is in the realm of Maya. So all changes that you go on bringing to yourself, led by karmas and led by so many other practices, they are not permanent attainment. Permanent attainment, immortality, eternity, moksha, nirvana, that attainment is not in the realm of your karma and the fruit of karma. O Rama, rather Rama asks, O sage, there are three types of jivas arising from the three gunas that have proceeded from the mind. The mind is indeed the painter of the world process on the canvas of pure consciousness. But he wants to know more about this mind. In section 98 of Utpatti Prakarana, an entertaining story is given by Sage Vasishtha. The story of Chitta Purusha, stories of a strange spirit. Prepare your ears. Sri Vasishtha said, O Rama, no matter what might be the cause of the origination of the mind, you don't use your mind just to find out when was the mind created and whatever his intention to create the mind. That would be a wastage of time. Because you are being tricked by your own mind. The question is coming from your own mind, through your limited mind. A wise person should try to direct one's attention to the self and attain liberation. When the mind is concentrated on the divine self, it becomes free from vasanas, subtle desires, and merges in the self. Therefore, O Rama, bondage and liberation depend upon the mind. The whole story of bondage, liberation, countless cycles of birth and death, and all the vast story of the world process. All that is in and through the mind. And that mind, ultimately, through enlightenment, dissolves. Realize I am, the real I am, is not dependent upon the mind. An easier illustration is sun expresses itself in countless ways upon this earth. But the sun is not dependent upon those expressions and has nothing to do with them. And those expressions have their own stories. When did they come? How long will they stay? A reflected sun in a bucket. How long will it stay? And etc., etc. I don't want to go into it. But while all this is viewed from one angle, you can see how many reflected suns are there. You enjoy sunrise, sunset. You go even long distances to enjoy the special way of the sun rises in certain areas. All that is from the point of view of your limited mind. Sun remains completely the same, no matter millions and trillions of pictures you may have, and they are all different. But the sun is only just the same. Pure consciousness within you is just the same. Aham Brahmasmi. Now listen to an interesting story. There exists a vast stretch of land devoid of birds and beasts, arid and desolate, wherein even thousands of miles seem like a short distance. It's completely a parable. In that land, once upon a time, I encountered a strange spirit. This spirit had many arms, many heads, many eyes, and many feet. This is chitta, mind stuff, is being brought out as this strange spirit in a vast, and the setting is arid. Now the spirit had many heads, many arms, many eyes, and many feet. The spirit should be happy. He has so many. Not people have only one or two arms. That's it. But the spirit is not happy. Because one head thinks one way, another head thinks another way. One hand wants to pick something, another hand doesn't want to pick that. Hands fight among hands. Now, that strange predicament. He was beating himself, and also he was carrying various instruments in his hands. And he was beating himself with maces and clubs. And how do you use the maces? Called Gada Parinyaya. One of your head found something negative. The other head found something positive. Now this head tells that one which has found positive, hammer him down. This is not positive. It's a negative. Weeping and wailing, he ran in circles. Nobody was after him. But he was being beaten up, tortured, running in circles, and it went on and on for hundreds of miles. As he continued to run, tired and exhausted, he fell into a dark well and lingered there for a long time. That's the description of hell. Led by karmas, you come to a state of dumping yourself into hellish condition. After a while, he managed to scramble out and again began to run about. After we exhaust heaven or hell, you are born again, beating himself again with his many hands. Being totally confused and beside himself, he became entangled in a dense forest of thorny thickets. All that implies life in a very difficult circumstances. He experienced intense sufferings as he was pierced by the thorns of thorny bushes. Somehow he managed to get out of the thorny forest, but only to resume his confused wanderings. By his good luck, he happened to enter into a forest of bananas, plantains, where he enjoyed cooling shade, like the refreshing rays of the moon. But that's called Swarga. There's nothing but bananas. Figure that. Again and again he suffered tortuous pain in the thorny forest of karanja bushes. I watched him with patience, and finding an opportune moment, I caught him by the power of yoga. This is the role of saintly personalities who are trying to help people to attain enlightenment. So how did he catch him? By yoga, power of yoga. So it's just like putting in an allegorical way. If you begin to understand the role of your chitta, have compassion for it. Try to use your yogic movement to direct your attention on the chitta. Allow the chitta not to just wander around, but be involved into an inquiry. Who am I? What's the purpose? Where am I running around? Whose are these arms that are hurting me? Now in storyline, O Rama, when I asked him this, he was incensed and shouted, who are you? Disturbing me, I'm already in trouble. I'm nobody. I'm doing nothing. What have I done to you? Why have you come to destroy me? You are my enemy. And then what happens? The questioning eye of Vasishtha goes after him, and he sees his body dissolving. I'm melting away before your shining gaze. Then he looked at his limbs, shrieked out loudly. How wonderful those arms were with big nails. And they dissolve and begin to lament in a pitiable manner. Then he would stop crying for a moment and then would laugh. Suddenly he also feels pressure is moving away. And even though the limbs are not there, there is something else. So he laughs. And then he wonders why is he laughing, then he cries. Right before my gaze, that a strange spirit began to lose his limbs. First his heads began to fall off. Then his arms began to melt away. The stomach, the chest, the legs, all the parts of the body began to dissolve in front of my very eyes. He became bodiless, but hardly he could breathe a sigh of relief that this big spirit has gone. To his amazement, Vasishtha says, I saw another spirit with many heads, many arms and legs. You go through the whole scripture to make the soul attain enlightenment. And so, well, the world is illusory, and illusory is broken. And then, another surprise, there are so many others who need to be enlightened. This one also continued to do the same things, running while beating himself with maces and clubs held in his many hands, entering the forest of thorny bushes, and then relaxing a while in forest of plantains. He was about to fall in the well again when I caught him and asked him the same question. It's called how, led by karmas, souls are trapped by satsanga. He too was incensed by my intervention. Early stage of handling the world is illusory, and you should control your mind and senses. You shouldn't let your moods just take over you. All that seems not easy to handle. I saw many similar spirits, and Vasishtha says he helped the other one also, but then there were many. And, O Rama, they continue to wander even today. Some have entered into Karanja forests, some have fallen into the dark well, some are relaxing in the plantain grove, some are continuing to beat themselves, souls in different conditions. Some are laughing and some are crying. The description of the world and all people around in the world. Sri Rama asked, O sage, what is that vast desert? When and how did I see those strange beings? Sri Vasishtha explained, O Rama, that great desert is not far. It is in fact, this is world process. This is the world process, vast desert. Those strange spirits are minds of human beings. Their mind being presented as the strange spirit. The human mind is like that strange spirit with many arms, many faces, many eyes, many legs, many stomachs. Sankalpas, thoughts and desires, constitute the heads of the mind spirit. You always use your head, you see. And what it implies that your thoughts reach a maturity that this is what I want to do. Your desires lead you to a certain conviction, this is what I must do. This is the way I must live my life. In small projects or in big projects, sankalpas play the role. If you are advanced, your sankalpa will be of a totally different nature. It will be how to attain liberation. You live your daily life in the spirit of worshipping God, as in the spirit of having an opportunity for reflecting upon who am I and so forth. But in this state of ignorance, you are being ruled by chitta, the mind stuff. And that chitta is like that strange spirit. As long as you are ruled by chitta, you are the chitta. Fortunately, no one takes your pictures. Doubts and distractions form the hands and arms. Clinging to objects is the chest. Heart aspect of this cartoon picture is that tendency, that ability in human personality to cling, to create what's called asakti, attachment, sangha. The object is far away, but your heart has caught it. So, it's just like a glue has come to your chest. Craving is the stomach of the mind spirit. And craving is just like people crave for one taste after another and going from one restaurant to another restaurant and reading about all the restaurants all over the world. All types of cravings are just like going after food. And for that, everyone possesses enormous stomach. Various functions of the mind are its many limbs. The dark web wells are the hellish hells. Bad karmas take you to hellish condition, even while you are alive. And after death as well. There is a difference, just to give you the idea. After death, you don't get into another embodiment immediately. That happens to some, many may not have. There is interval. During that intermission, experiences led by your karmas continue. But there is big difference. When body is not there and only mind is experiencing pleasure and pain, when it experiences pleasure, it has no ordinary limit. When it experiences pain, then also it has no ordinary limit. So in between birth, death and rebirth, that's how the soul's status is. And when you are experiencing lot of joy, pleasure, is not real happiness. It's based on karma. Then that's called bhoga, swarga. And when you experience pain, that type of pain is also enormous. That's called hell. Heaven and hell continue in your daily life while you are alive, but fortunately, your body plays a great role. Your body restricts beyond certain degree of happiness. If you are not mature enough, if people are given suddenly advanced form of happiness, just to give you a simple way of saying, a very poor and miserable person suddenly wins a big lottery. And if a neighbor comes to tell that you have won a big, I have a more kind of a humorous story. A doctor is treating a patient, and he has come to know that the patient has won a big lottery. And he says to the patient that if you win your lottery, will you give me some? And the patient says, I'm no interest in the lottery at all. I will give you the whole thing. He says, sign it. The patient signs it. It becomes extremely legal. The moment it became legal, the doctor had a heart failure. He never believed that he will have all that money. So, very happy news, you have to be careful. Frustrating news, you have to be careful. Your nervous system will not allow beyond certain degree of pleasure or pain. So therefore there is advantage in as long as you have the body and nervous system. When pain goes beyond certain limit, you pass out. But that's not so if you are an embodied, if you are after, if the body is not there, then that's the predicament. Vasishtha says, And I am, when in the storyline, Vashishta said he encountered them and interacted with them. He says, what the real meaning behind I, Vasishtha, I am the personification of vichar, spiritual inquiry. Put it another way, he is the personification of satsanga. When you bring your mind, your chitta comes in satsanga environment. Now you are being given the idea of what is the project, the predicament, what you are doing with your mind. Hurting yourself, running around the same little jungle and wants your mangal. Mangal is auspicious. When held by the force of yogic discipline, led by satsanga, if an aspirant begins to do sadhana, and you begin to understand, have an objectivity towards your own mind, then that mind begins to see the disappearance of its limbs. So many distractions, they move away. So many doubts, they take it out. So many desires, they melt away. So many thoughts, now we are getting one-pointed, not so many pointed. So cravings, attachments, all begin to melt away. The mind grieves at the loss of its limbs at first. First stages of sadhana is not so easy. It's called yatamanam, striving stage. But when you begin to enjoy the result of sadhana and where you have been led to, now the sadhana process becomes joyous. So the mind grieves at the loss of its limbs at first, but later begins to rejoice as it becomes filled with divine joy. It is this very mind that I have described through the illustration of the strange spirit. It is ever inflicting injury on itself with the help of its thousands of arms. Mind is never intact. It always moves either in a negative way or in a positive way. It's always active. If you are in sadhana and have developed spiritual sensitivity, then you bring the mind to, begin to draw the mind to an order. And that has its own sustained perseverance with patience. It is the mind that creates misery due to its own ignorance. It is the author of its own destiny. Mind is the biggest author and big poet. Its poetry is in one verse, universe. Just as a silkworm becomes entangled in its own cocoon, so the mind becomes entangled by its own erroneous mentations. Silkworm, or look at the spider, spits out so many things, creates a big web and gets caught by it. The mind spits out whole illusions, very sustained patience, seeing things a negative way, day by day, dealing with negativity, with regret, negative memories of the past, and with bad association. Because when you have negativity, you reach to another negative person to have some sharing of. The mind is doing the cobweb job. Just as a dull person might cut the very branch on which he is seated, So one brings ruin on one's own self due to mental illusions. A well-known folk tale tells of a monkey who wanted to amuse himself in the workshop of a carpenter. In the course of his frolics, he removed a peg. Now, it's a little engineering about it. There's a forked sheets of wood, one fork, another. In between there is a peg. Remove the peg, those two will just bang itself together. So what the monkey does, he sits, puts his tail into the hole, and with great difficulty removes the peg. And he is trapped. It took him a lot of his intelligence to do that. That's what monkey mind does. He removed the peg. The result resulted in two sections of wood snapping upon his tail, inflicting severe pain and injury to him. In the same way, the mind brings ruin on itself through its faulty movements. But when the mind is disciplined by yoga and allowed to meditate upon the self, then the mind is negated, mind dissolves, and there is a revelation of the self. And this results in cessation of all misery, cessation of pain, grief. And with this I will conclude. Om Triambakam Jamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhana Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamrita Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om